The moment of truth has arrived. Are you ready? You don't look ready. Are you ready? Okay, I'm just kidding. The 2022 World Series champions will be... Greetings, America, Canada, and all the folks watching on the surface of Neptune, and welcome to the Suicide Squeeze Baseball Show here on the Fireball Review channel. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is the most wonderful time of the year. No, it is not Christmas, although I love Christmas, but it is opening day of the baseball season. It will be kicking off in about 24 hours from now. I'm very excited. I'm going to see Shohei Ohtani pitch against America's team tomorrow, the Houston Astros. Hopefully we'll get a big win in that contest. But today is a very important day in the history of this channel. You know what happened 12 months ago today? 12 months ago, I made this prediction, but the Braves will get their revenge this time. If they can beat the mighty Dodgers, they can beat the mighty Yankees, and the Atlanta Braves will win the 2021 World Series. And it came true. You're welcome, Atlanta. Whose dreams will I make come true in 2022? Will it be the Dodgers? Will it be the Rays? Will it be the Yankees? Will the Braves repeat? Well, we're going to find out in a few minutes here. So let's go! Now, just a reminder before I get going, go check out my American and National League regular season divisional prediction video that I did on Monday and Tuesday. In the Monday video, I'm giving out a 1994 Geo Metro to a lucky subscriber, so good luck in winning that luxurious vehicle. So in the first wildcard matchup, you would have the 3-seeded America's team, the Houston Astros, going up against my favorite team, the Angels, who would be the final seed, the 6th seed. Now, as far as I can understand these new playoff rules, the higher seed team hosts all 3 games. I believe that's true. I looked this up fairly extensively. There was nothing stating that this was true or not, but I think this is how it works. If this is true, this is a huge advantage for the higher seed to host all 3 games, and all 3 of these games would take place in Houston, Texas, as far as I know. And if that happens, I think the Astros come out on top. I think they're a little bit more of a complete team than the Angels. They don't have a lot of playoff experience, unfortunately. And I think at the end of the day, the Astros win this series 2-1 and break my heart. Now, in the other American League wildcard matchup, you have the 4-seed Toronto Blue Jays going up against the 5-seed New York Yankees, the 27-time World Series champion New York Yankees. I know if I don't bring it up, some Yankee fan down in the comments will bring it up, so I just thought, what the hell? Why not just beat them to the punch? But I'm not so sure those 27 championships are going to help them in this series. The Jays are young, they're hungry. We'll see what happens for the rest of the playoffs, but I think they're going to knock off the Yankees in this series. All 3 of these games, again, likely to be in Toronto. That's a tough place to play. It's very loud. You know, Canadians have this reputation for being nice guys and whatnot, but when their teams are in the playoffs, they're a little bit nuts. And I'm telling you, I think the Jays win this series 2-1 and eliminate the Bombers. Now, in the first National League wildcard matchup, we have the 3-seeded Atlanta Braves going up against the 6-seeded San Francisco Giants. And I don't know what the hell is going on in the world, because I've been watching a lot of these prognostication videos over the past couple of days, and a lot of these talking heads have the San Francisco Giants missing the playoffs. I thought I was being disrespectful to these guys, having them come in 3rd place in the NL West. But what these people are watching, I have no clue at all. Did this team not win 107 games last year or not? Because I seem to remember them winning 107 and beating out the Dodgers for that division. There is no way this team's not going to make the playoffs. But be that as it may, in this series, I don't like their bullpen compared to Atlanta's bullpen. Atlanta has that night shift that won them the World Series last year. I think the Braves win out in this series 2-1. But you know what? The Giants got an excellent chance to get to the World Series this year. They got to get a bat at the trade deadline. I still think they're a little bit thin when it comes to offense. Now, in the second National League wildcard matchup, we would have the 4-seeded New York Mets going up against the 5-seeded San Diego Padres. And the big question for the Mets going into the playoffs and throughout the entire regular season for that matter is, what's going on with Jacob deGrom? This guy's got shoulder problems. He's got elbow problems. He's just got all kinds of problems, and I don't see him pitching this season. I just have a bad feeling about this guy. But nonetheless, the Mets have an ace in the hole, and that is their new manager, Buck Showalter. This is the most underrated manager, I think, in baseball history. I'll tell you how great Buck Showalter is. This man did the impossible. He took the Baltimore Orioles to 2 consecutive playoff series. If that isn't great, this guy can basically walk on water after doing that. I think he figures out a way to get it done in this series. I think he knocks off the Padres. I think the Mets take this thing behind Scherzer and Showalter's brain, and they win it 2-1. Now, in the first American League divisional matchup, we will have the number 1 seeded White Sox going up against the 4 seed Toronto Blue Jays. And the White Sox, they scare me somewhat, but not in a good way. This team last year, I think it hurt them immensely, the fact that nobody in their division really challenged them. And then they got into that short series playoff, and they laid an egg. I think that might happen again this year. And something to look out for, all these teams with buys, everybody wants a buy, of course, and I understand it. I think it helps the pitchers. I don't think it helps the hitters so much, though. From an offensive standpoint, most baseball players, they like playing every day. They're a creature of habit. And the White Sox, they're not going to be challenged in their division. They're going to have a week off. And I think these guys are going to be a little bit rusty when they go up against the young Toronto team. I don't think the matchup, the pitching matchups, not being able to set up your rotation is going to hurt Toronto too much. I think they win this series in 5 games. Now, in the second American League divisional matchup, we will have the 2-seeded Rays going up against the 3-seeded America's team, Houston Astros. But I got to be honest with you, I'm going to break some hearts here. I don't think the Astros are surviving this time. I don't think they're getting back to the World Series. I think Tampa Bay takes them down. That bullpen, Randy Arozarena, the most exciting man in baseball. It's not named Shohei Ohtani. And then they got Franco. I think by then the starters should be healthy. Maybe they get Glass now back to the playoffs. And I think they take Houston down 3-1. In the first National League divisional matchup, we have the number 1 seeded Dodgers going up against the number 4 seeded New York Mets. And as much as I love Buck Showalter and his ability to walk on water, I don't think he's taking out the Dodgers. I think the Mets probably succumb to the Dodgers in this series. Losing Jacob deGrom proves too much for them, and I think the Dodgers take down the Mets in 4 games. So in the second National League divisional matchup, we will have the 2-seeded Milwaukee Brewers going up against the 3-seeded Atlanta Braves. This would be a rematch of last year's divisional matchup where the Braves took out the Milwaukee Brewers in 4 games. It was a sad situation for Milwaukee, but the Brewers have probably the best starting pitching rotation in all of baseball. I am very high on these guys. They have Josh Hader down there in the bullpen, and I think they're going to add a stick at the deadline. The GM of Milwaukee, he knows that they have a small window with a small market team to keep these guys together. I think they add a stick at the deadline. Nonetheless, the Braves bullpen is probably even stronger than it was last year. They added Olsen at first base. Acuna is back in the lineup. The Braves, but let me tell you something, folks. There's a reason. There's a reason why we have not seen a back-to-back World Series champion since the Yankees did it, and they had a three-peat way back in 2000. It's been over 20 years since a team has gone back-to-back, and at the end of the day, it's been a nice run, Atlanta. I love you. I was glad to finally correctly predict a World Series winner, but I got to leave you here. That Milwaukee rotation is just too damn strong. This is going to be an absolute dogfight, but the Brewers take down the world champs in 5 games. Not going to lie, a little emotional after that last pick, but let's move on to the American League Championship, shall we? The Tampa Bay Rays will be going up against the Toronto Blue Jays. I love both of these teams a lot, but you guys know I am a Rays guy. I love this team. I love their bullpen. I love the dynamic offense. I think they got a great pitching staff. They're probably the best run franchise in all of baseball. Toronto is great. Everyone is picking them. The whole world is picking them to go to the World Series and maybe even win it. I've seen a lot of people pick them to win the World Series. It could happen. But let me tell you this, when a young team makes it, and they haven't been in the playoffs, this team, as it stands now, this Toronto team with this cast of characters, they haven't even been to the playoffs yet. To me, you got to get to the playoffs, you got to taste it one time, and then maybe a year or two later, you finally break through and win that World Series. I just don't see Toronto just breaking through in the first year and getting to the playoffs and then winning the whole thing. You just don't see that. You know, when the Braves won the World Series, they made the playoffs a couple of times. They lost in the division series, and then I think they lost in the ALCS, and then they won it. The Cubs did that. Kansas City did that. I think this is what's going to happen with Toronto. I think their magic carpet ride ends here, and I think the Rays take them out in 6 games, and the Tampa Bay Rays will win the American League pennant and represent the American League in the 2022 World Series. Now in the National League Championship Series, we have the number 1 seeded Los Angeles Dodgers going up against the number 2 seeded Milwaukee Brewers, and this is an Ali Frazier heavyweight matchup. Battle of the Titans. This would be an absolutely remarkable series. I think it would go 7 games. I think you have the best offense in Major League Baseball in the Los Angeles Dodgers going up against the best starting pitching in Major League Baseball, the Milwaukee Brewers. The bullpens are kind of a wash at the end of the day. I think the big X factor in this series, the 9,000-pound gorilla in the room that nobody wants to acknowledge, is what's going on with Trevor Bauer. If Trevor Bauer comes back, I think the Dodgers knock off the Brewers in this series. I think that would happen. I don't think he's coming back, though. And at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, call me crazy. It wouldn't be the first time. Trust me, and it won't be the last time. I'm predicting the Milwaukee Brewers pull off one of the great upsets in the history of sports, and the Milwaukee Brewers take out the mighty Dodgers in 7 games, and for the first time since 1982, the Milwaukee Brewers will advance to the World Series and represent the National League. It's going to happen. So in what would be the lowest rated television World Series of all time, we would have the Tampa Bay Rays going up against the Milwaukee Brewers. I can just hear and feel people in the Major League Baseball corporate office in New York going into cardiac arrest at the fact that you might have a Milwaukee-Tampa Bay World Series. But for those of you, and there would be a lot of people that would not be watching this series, you would be missing out because this would be an awesome World Series. I think it would be like that 1991 World Series between Atlanta and Minnesota that not a lot of people watched, but it was one of the great World Series of all time, and it sort of came out of nowhere. Both these teams have never won the World Series before. The Rays have made 2 appearances. They were there a couple of years ago where they lost to the Dodgers in 6 games, then they lost to the Phillies back in 2008, and then Milwaukee was last year in 1982 where they lost to St. Louis. I gotta pick somebody, ladies and gentlemen. The moment of truth has arrived. Are you ready? You don't look ready. Are you ready? Okay, I'm just kidding. The 2022 World Series champions will be the Milwaukee Brewers. Will take down the Tampa Bay Rays in 6 games, and they will reign supreme throughout Major League Baseball. But now I want to hear from you guys. Let me have it down in the comments. Who's going to win the 2022 World Series? Who is the most underrated manager in baseball history? Is Jif Peanut Butter better than Skippy Peanut Butter? Let me know down below. And as always, hit that dislike button if you like this video. Otherwise, see you next time. Happy opening day. Let's ride Milwaukee. Toodles.